Hey guys, it's your favorite Poke Yapper, and tomorrow is Pokemon Day. So yeah, it's gonna be a yap session, guys, a more chill one. And so tomorrow's Pokemon Day, and I really can't believe that I'm actually somewhat excited for it. Normally when we have Pokemon Day, I'm not that excited about it, but this is one I'm a little excited for. I guess maybe you could say because since it's the 30th anniversary, I'm allowing myself to buy into the hype a little bit because, it has to be big because, their track record, Pokemon, Nintendo Game Freak's track record of trying to make sure that an anniversary hits well, a milestone anniversary hits well. And so I'm just gonna, talk a little bit about, what I'd like to see, some hopes that I have, and just kind of reflect a little bit on, the past 30 years. Well, since it is the 30th anniversary, and it has been almost 4 years since, the start of Gen 9, right? I hope that they actually have taken their time with this one. And I'm not saying it has to have the most high-end of graphics. I know a lot of people want Gen 10 to have the highest of end graphics. I'm just saying I hope they took their time with it. That they actually took their time, built a good open world, give us good Pokemon designs, give us a good story, and honestly accessible. And especially now, since Pokemon Champions is a thing, they don't have to focus on strictly, ingratiating everybody into a mainline game. This can just be a game for Pokemon fans who aren't, what's the word I'm looking for, who aren't strictly in it for just competitive battling. Hopefully this is a game where you actually do feel like you're going on an adventure like Scarlet and Violet was. And you're not kind of not necessarily forcing people, but you're not kind of streamlining the game a little bit to, cater to the competitive fan base, and there's nothing wrong with catering to the competitive fan base. There is nothing, but that's why they got Pokemon Champions, and I'm hoping that these new games that come out focus more on an open world story that is for everybody. So yeah, I just hope they took in their time with it. Like I said, it's been 4 years, and so because it's been 4 years, and I know that's not necessarily a long time to be working on a game, but compared to how, they'll start a game immediately after they release, or they'll be in the middle of, finishing up a game and doing this, hopefully this is giving them more than enough time to iron out the details. I know I don't really get into much other than the anime and, the video games and just most of the mainline games and all that. I mostly get into those. But I do hope that there are some cool events for, everything. For the phone games, for the other spin-off games. I hope there's something good for the manga, for the anime, for the card game, for the plushes, everything. Because, when Pokemon is winning and succeeding and everything is, everything is going great, then it's going to be a good year. But if it's not, But one thing I have hoped for, right, since Ash left the anime, that's just one thing I really am hoping for, is that we get some kind of a retelling, I understand it might be, a big dream and all that pie in the sky type deal, but I just really hope we get some type of retelling of, Ash's time, not even like a full Gen 1 all the way through when he finally left. I'm just not even necessarily a movie, but some kind of mini series, that one season, kind of more streamlined, kind of like what they're doing with One Piece and kind of like what they did with Dragon Ball Z Kai, kind of like a more streamlined story, and I understand not all of it's filler and all that, but more streamlined and all that, so we can get through, Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, such and such, Ash's story as a retelling. And I also hope, again, pie in the sky, that if they do this, it's done by Studio Ghibli. But yeah, I just hope. But yeah, like I said, this Pokemon Day just got me feeling a little bit excited, a little bit. Because like I said, it is the 30th anniversary. And so, but honestly, I can't really ask. There's not really much more I would like to ask for. But, just let me know in the comment section what you guys would like. And just what you guys would like to see, anything you would like to see and all that. But yeah, now I'm just going to do a little bit of reflection here, so you can skip this part of the video if you don't want to listen to me ramble on. But if you'd like to listen to, my thoughts on, just introspection of Pokemon, please stay. Man, it's been 30 years. Damn, I'm old. Bro, I'm literally a year older than Pokemon. I'm 31 this year. And it's so crazy that this franchise has been growing up with me, and has reached adulthood as much as I have. And it's really nice. It's really something that has followed me since childhood, and I'm so grateful for it because I fell in love with Pokemon. My earliest memories of Pokemon weren't even really the anime. Funnily enough, my earliest memories of Pokemon was me playing Pokemon Blue version. I just remember when I was like 10, and like it was interesting because I had an upstairs neighbor, and a friend of his, he was a little bit older than me. He was like, I think 14 at the time. I was like way younger, way younger. I think I was like 8, right? So, but maybe 10. I don't remember, but it was something, right? So I had Pokemon Blue version, and we were sharing it off, like, because I had the Game Boy. It was technically his game because someone gave him the game, but I had the Game Boy. It wasn't even an Advance. It was a Game Boy. I had a Game Boy. But yeah, no, like, I had that. And so we were, splitting. So I was spending time playing the game, and I was playing it all. And I remember my first starter was Blastoise. And so I just was playing as Blastoise. And I just remember that I was doing the normal kid thing of just like playing my starter and just going through all the gyms and all that. I had no idea what I was doing, but we were going there, and so it just grew from there. I then played, I then went to the store, and for my birthday, I saw the commercial for Fire Red and Leaf Green. I was like, oh, Fire Red and Leaf Green. I want Leaf Green. Even though red at the time was my favorite color, for some reason, I just didn't fuck with Charizard. I just didn't fuck with Charizard for some reason. I don't know. I never fucked with Charizard, which is why I made that video, fuck ass Charizard. But no, I wanted Leaf Green so bad. And so my mom got me, and so for my birthday, I was so excited that year. And it was like my 10th or 11th birthday. So I got Pokemon Fire Red. I got Pokemon Fire Red. No, sorry. I got Pokemon Leaf Green. And I got my blue Game Boy Advance SP. And I'm just playing those games. And then I'm also playing Ruby and Sapphire. And I'm playing Emerald. And Emerald was my favorite game. So I'm just playing these games. And I even went back and got like, what was it? Crystal version. I got Crystal version. And I'm just going around and playing it. And so Pokemon was with me for, about 2-3 years up until that point, and then I lost Pokemon. So I remember that we moved, and it was a tough time in my life at that point in time. We were moving. I had hip surgery, and there was a lot of other things going on. I'm not going to get too deep in that, but I had lost contact with Pokemon for the longest time, and so I'm watching, stuff, and I'm like, oh man, this is great. Let me, oh man, then my mom finally, she was like, Murray, let me get you a DS for your birthday. I was like, yeah, I got a DS for my birthday. And I had a red DS, and I got me Pokemon Diamond version. And so I'm playing that, and I'm having a great time playing it. And then I take it to school with me one day. Someone busted my locker, and they stole my DS. So in middle school, I was like, it was 7th grade. And so from 7th grade to about, what is it, 9th grade, 10th grade? Yeah, about like 10th grade or something like that. No, actually not even that. Like 11th grade. So from like 7th grade to like 11th or 10th grade, I did not play any Pokemon because my mom was like, I'm not buying you another DS. Even though I went out and got me a job, I could have did that, but I just never thought about it because I finally had a job. But I then, finally, couldn't do anything. So then what ended up happening was I lost touch with Pokemon for a little bit. So I missed a lot of, I missed Platinum. I then missed Heart Gold, Soul Silver. I missed Gen 5. But then I got a 3DS, and my friend who's on TikTok, Kev Pat, he sold me his 3DS and Pokemon Black, I think, or was it White? I forget which one. And because he already played it, and so he sold it to me, and then I started playing it again. And I was, oh my gosh, it was like I had never. It's like everything that I lost over that years just came flooding back, and so I played, Gen 5, which is why I guess it has such a special place in my heart. Gen 5, it just had such a place in my heart that's why it's one of my favorite generations, along with Gen 3, because Gen 3, Emerald. It goes Emerald, Leaf Green, and Pokemon Black version. Those are the 3 games, my top 3 favorite games, because those are the games I played the absolute most before the Switch and all that. So then when I get Black version, I play that, I go through it, and I'm just having the time of my life playing Pokemon again, and it was great. And so now I'm hyped for Pokemon again, and then I remember in 2013, so the year I graduated high school, right, finally I get to play a new Pokemon game for the first time in my life. Not the first time in my life, but I'm finally old enough to where I can go out and buy, because I got the money, because I have a job. I'm able to finally go out and play this game and all that. At this point in time, I found a new group of friends who all enjoy Pokemon, and so that group of friends I love those guys. We played the hell out of X and Y, to the point where we're doing randomizers, not randomizers, we were doing Nuzlocke, we were doing rival challenges, we were just battling back and forth, just honing our skills, and a bunch of craziness happened, and I would love to tell these stories, just a bunch of craziness, how it was the first time I really got into competitive battling, somewhat because my friends, because those guys were into it, and just like how I just seen some crazy battles, how I was part of some crazy battles. And that around their time, like 2013 and 2016, was peak Pokemon for me, where I just had so much love for it. Where, we're just playing around, we're just having fun, we're just going back and forth, battling and all that. And one story I will say, because I know I'm just rambling on a little too much. But one story I will say is that for some reason, right, I had Pokemon, what was it, X, right? But I found a Mewtwo that was just absolutely busted. I trained the hell out of that Mewtwo. And so, like, that Mewtwo was like such a trump card for me. I felt like Ash when he had his Charizard back in the early parts of Johto. Like, he was just relying on the Charizard. But like, I didn't want to keep relying on my Charizard, so I wouldn't even bring out the Mewtwo all that much. I just keep it in a box sometimes. If someone's pissed me off, all right, let me humble you real quick. Then, right, but you get that one day where you get a little too high and close to the sun. You get a little too high, you get a little too close to the sun. And so my friend ended up finding like a Giratina, like level 100 Giratina on the GTS. Dude was giving away this Giratina for pennies. Like, I forget, dude gave away that Giratina for pennies, right? And so then he gets a Giratina, and so then I'm like, oh man, I could beat that Giratina. My Mewtwo could handle it. Nope, that Mewtwo did not handle it. That Mewtwo got destroyed. Oh my gosh, you should have saw the moment my face deflated. I was happy because, like, I had, in the group at that time, I had the most powerful Pokemon. Like, there was no one touching me because I got the Mewtwo Y. It was the most powerful Pokemon in the group, and that Giratina humbled me, and I was so upset. Oh, but yeah, no, that's one. But yeah, no, so I had to keep rambling. But then during that time, good things do tend to come to an end, because we all, we're all getting into our, we were all in our 20s, and we were starting to, move on to, move out of our parents' homes and stop being roommates and all that time. So we, as life goes, we tend to, drift apart, just because, we all went our different ways in life. And so what ended up happening is that while I did love Pokemon, it just didn't feel the same, because, everyone kind of went their own separate way. Like, everyone, wasn't as big into Pokemon as I was, and because you see me now, I'm on TikTok trying to make it on YouTube, just talking about Pokemon, because just how much I love it. And so, but yeah, now I'm 31, and it's been a wild ride. But yeah, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I know I took up a lot of your guys' time, and so yeah, but in addition to, tell me what you wish for in the direct, I encourage you all just to, reminisce on your times with Pokemon, whether you've been playing since the beginning, whether you're in my situation, or, you just started, I would just love to hear, some reminiscing in the comments as well. So yeah, all right, have a good one.